lost everything I worked for. You know, it was stolen from me, and there's not. You quickly learn that you don't have a voice in this. They don't care. They're going to hush it up. They're going to push it through. The mayor of East Palestine yesterday at the Trump circus that came to town, and I'm a Trump voter, right? I live in East Palestine. We didn't need that right now. But the mayor at this press conference says, hey, media, go away. We don't need you anymore. That's the last thing we need. We need this. I mean, I wrote an open letter to the mayor telling him how to take care of this situation because he's been non-existent. I know he gets a lot of positive press, and he was in a rough spot. I totally get it. Guy totally was not the guy for this mission.
My house is 900 feet from the actual derailment. It's been tough. We're not sleeping. We're getting sick with eye infections, respiratory headaches, sore throats. My grandkids have been traumatized. They're worried all the time about the train. It's always, we hear the train, the train, the train. And you don't realize how traumatic it was until you hear something out of the norm. When we hear a fire truck come out this way now, we're scared. We go running, we go to see. You don't realize it until you actually live in it and see and hear all of the noise and the smells and everything. It's tough.
I work in East Palestine at Rural Arena, outside with cars and water, and it's just been like this ever since the train blew up.
It's crazy. What does your voice really sound like, Wade? I know you can't tell us, but is it like that? You sound like Michael Jackson normally?
Lately, I sound like Mickey Mouse.
Yep.
But
he's got a deep, raspy voice normally.
Other than that, I just go and get tested and get checked out.
Well, what are they telling you?
My doctor says I most definitely have the chemicals in me. And,
but he has to find a toxologist to get properly...
They keep telling me to come up here, but nobody has nothing.
When you say nobody has anything, like there are no doctors in town to be able to help you?
No. That's what they tell me. I gotta make a phone call and schedule an appointment with somebody.
Okay.
But,
are you going to do that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Is it just affecting your voice, Wade, or are you feeling it in other areas of your body?
My chest hurts at nighttime. It feels like I'm drowning a little.
He wakes up every morning.
I have a hard time breathing. Yeah. I cough up phlegm a lot. Yeah. But other than that, like...
And were you in pretty good health, Wade, up until now?
Yeah.
You're only a 40-year-old man. That's not very old.
No.
Imagine waking up one day to find out that your town has been rocked by a catastrophe so severe it's described as a chemical nuclear disaster, because that's exactly what happened to the residents of East Palestine, Ohio, back in February of 2023 when a Norfolk Southern freight train derailed and it did release toxic chemicals into the environment. It was a disaster that has yet to receive the full attention and accountability it deserves. Now, train derailments aren't rare in the United States. In fact, there's over 1,000 of them each year. Now, in relation to the train derailments, including chemical spills, back in 2005, more than 100,000 pounds of chlorine gas was released in South Carolina when 18 train cars derailed. Of course, the crash killed 9 people and exposed more than 1,000 others, leading to hundreds visiting hospitals with lung injuries. Now, the train wreck, most like East Palestine, occurred in 2012 when a train in Paulsboro, New Jersey, derailed and spilled more than 20,000 gallons of vinyl chloride. Dozens of people were treated for exposure. Now, trains, they are an integral part of transportation network for almost 2 centuries in the United States. They do continue to carry not only goods but hazardous materials. Now, in 2023 alone, there were 742 derailments. Now, most derailments occur in rail yards, but some, of course, cause devastating spills. Now, the Guardian of the Environmental Protection Agency revealed from an analysis that chemical accidents happen frequently in the U.S. Now, it's about 1 every 2 days. Now, in the first 7 weeks of 2023 alone, there were over 30 incidents, which is nearly one every 36 hours. So, that was a significant increase from years past, being that they only had 188 accidents in 2022 and 177 in 2021. Now, what exactly causes derailments? The causes of the derailments can be complex, but a few major culprits would be poor rail maintenance, operator error, and then the natural law of entropy, okay, which essentially says systems become less efficient and more disordered over time unless actively maintained. So investigations can be lengthy. Of course, usually they're around about 6 months or more. I don't feel like an investigation should be that long, but who am I to say that this is appropriate or not appropriate? Now, an ingoing National Transportation Safety Board investigation suggested that the derailment had been caused by an overheated wheel bearing on one of the cars failing. Now, the control burn was initiated as pressure relief valves on the cars did not function, and the NTSB said that the melting of their aluminum covers may have prevented them from working. However, the real problem surfaces when things go wrong. Now, in East Palestine, the train was carrying a variety of hazardous chemicals, including vinyl chloride, which is a known carcinogen. Now, if spilled into waterways, vinyl chloride is difficult to clean up. Now, by burning vinyl chloride, the chemical burns into phosgene and hydrogen chloride, which turns into hydrochloric acid when the gas mixes with vapor. Now, the derailment released these deadly chemicals into the air, the soil, as well as the water. Now, what they did to prevent a massive explosion, they conducted a controlled burn which sent plumes of toxic black smoke into the sky. Now, the burn did turn some of these chemicals into a phosgene gas, which is a deadly substance that was used in World War I. Now, the burn also prompted officials to evacuate East Palestine residents to avoid exposure. Now, imagine being told that your town was nuked with chemicals to save it. That's the reality these residents face, and the questions remain: was it the best choice, or was it the cheapest option? The aftermath has been devastating. Up to 540,000 square miles spanning 16 U.S. states surrounding the site in East Palestine, Ohio, had some traces of the inorganic chemicals released during the disaster. Now, in total, it is estimated that 1/3 of the population in the U.S., which is about 110 million people, have likely been impacted. This spill also affected southern Ontario and many of the Great Lakes. Now, all of these pollutants are important in the environment because their accumulation has an impact on the Earth's aquatic and terrestrial environments in many ways. Now, residents don't want to hear that the environment is safe if there are dead fish floating in rainbow colored contaminated creeks. Now, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources has estimated that 3,500 fish died across 7.5 miles of streams in the first 5 days after the burn. Of course, local fox and chicken keepers have also reported their animals becoming sluggish, losing feathers, and dying, some miles away from the crash site. So these families have been through enough. Some people have, had to pay for food and hotels, and while they were displaced, and now have to pay for vet bills. Now, there was an independent analysis by Texas A&M University of Environmental Protection Agency data, which found 9 air pollutants at levels that could raise long-term health concerns in and around East Palestine, apparently contradicting statements by state and federal regulators that the air is safe. Many now struggle with those long-term health concerns, as well as a lingering smell still hangs over the town, especially after it rains. And then, the exposure to these chemicals does cause irritation to the eyes, nose, and skin, as well as blood in the urine, as well as vomiting. Now, some may also experience a cough, nausea, headaches, and dizziness. Locals also complained of not using tap water due to the skin feeling drier after use. Now, despite the recovery effort, skepticism does remain among residents, as it should, because when looking back on history, it took years after 9/11 for medical experts to learn of the devastating health issues that were caused. Now, despite these conditions, cleanup efforts have been slow, with a growing sense of frustration from the people of East Palestine, who for sure feel abandoned by both local and federal officials. Many receive $1,000 checks from Norfolk Southern and only received it once they signed a waiver saying they would not ask for more. That sounds sketchy. Now, a class action lawsuit was filed on behalf of hundreds of residents alleging that Norfolk Southern went rogue when it decided to blow up the cargo in 5 train cars containing deadly vinyl chloride 3 days after the derailment. Many believe the company's decision was very suspicious. Okay, now the state of Ohio has eliminated punitive damages so that the most Norfolk Southern would be ordered to pay the residents of East Palestine would be a total of $350,000. Norfolk Southern countered by saying it has already shelled out $8 million in aid to the town, including controversial $1,000 checks, as to which, the people of East Palestine were stated they had to sign a waiver for not asking for additional funds. So again, the company is worth $51 billion. So that says a lot. Now, what they could have done and should have done is remove all the vinyl chloride from the train cars and put them in secure containment vessels. Then they should have, excavated tons of soil and monitored and remediated the soil and groundwater. It is reported that the railway company repaired the train tracks, put some new gravel on top, and began running trains one day after the so-called controlled explosion. So again, that speaks volumes. Now, almost 2 years since the crash, EPA, or Environmental Protection Agency personnel, and Norfolk Southern contractors have worked to remove nearly 177,000 tons of contaminated soil and treat stretches of the Sulphur Run and Leslie Run creeks that were visibly polluted by the derailment. Now, over 44 million gallons of wastewater has been shipped away. Question is, where to? Now, what I did find in research is that the wastewater was shipped to Vickery, Ohio, Deer Park, Texas, and parts of Michigan for disposal by deep well injection. This is stated a liquid waste technology that prevented the migration of contaminants into drinkable and publicly used water. Now, additionally, 1,400 tons of solid waste were removed from the derailment site as well. 510 tons were hauled to Grafton, Ohio, and East Liverpool, Ohio, for incineration, while 880 tons were shipped to Belleville, Michigan, and North Rochdale, Indiana, to be placed into landfills. Now, the federal response has been lackluster. President Biden's administration, after all, was more focused on visiting Ukraine than addressing the disaster right at home. Now, the people of East Palestine feel forgotten, as they should. They're suffering overshadowed by global concerns. Yet this disaster serves as a reminder: when our nation faces crisis, we need leadership that prioritizes the health, safety, and well-being of American citizens, no matter where they live. Okay, what we need now is a thorough investigation and accountability. The investigation into the derailment is still ongoing, but it's not enough to simply point fingers. Norfolk Southern claims that they have already spent millions, but it's clear that far more needs to be done. The residents of East Palestine deserve a cleanup that addresses the long-term environmental damage, not just a quick fix, and they deserve the truth. Why was this train carrying such dangerous materials in the first place? Why didn't officials act more swiftly to contain the spill? Now, the people of East Palestine have suffered illness, loss, and have been silenced. Of course, the East Palestine tragedy is not just a local issue, it's a wake up call for the entire country. We need to question everything and demand better. Our communities, our health, and our safety depend on it. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.